everybody, and thank you for joining us. We are live today with Sid Goodfriend, the founder of American Corporate Partners. Thanks for joining us today, Sid.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I got to tell you, I'm excited about this conversation. I'm really a huge fan, and most of you may know I'm a huge fan of ACP. I'm on the advisory council. I'm also, like the Hair Club for Men thing, I'm also a client. So I had my mentor and just an exceptional experience in every way. So I really hope you all get as much from this as I do. So Sid, I guess let's start off. Why ACP? Like, what led you to founding this incredible organization?
Well, I'm asked that almost every day. And you think by now, almost 13 years into it, I would have had an elevator speech. I'll try to be brief. Several factors went into it. The first one is on 9/11, I was right downstairs, literally downstairs when the second plane went in the Trade Center. And it changed my life forever because as a lifelong New Yorker, I and all of my friends were certain something else was going to happen any day. Mm-hmm. And of course, nothing that significant did. And I became so exceptionally appreciative of the men and women who signed up, particularly those who signed up post 9/11, mm-hmm. who said, it's my duty to be part of a team that's going to help to try to make sure that this never happens again. So it's fast forward, it's years later, and I'm thinking about what I want to do post an investment banking career. I was very lucky. I was on Wall Street at the right time, but I also lived on a plane. I like to be able to see my kids grow up. So for those of you who can remember back to early 2008, before the financial crisis, right, before President Obama's elected, right, we were in the middle of the surge in Iraq, and all these men and women, it was on the news every night, they signed up to serve. Some of them were in the National Guard. Mm-hmm. They thought they would be doing hurricane relief, mm-hmm. and instead they were in Afghanistan or they're in Fallujah. And people in the reserves who thought they may never get called up, they're now in Baghdad. And so as a country, there was a lot of discussion of the surge and what to do, but there was almost no discussion on what we were going to do for the men and women when they came home. So I'm figuring, okay, what can I do to contribute? In my mid-40s, signing up to try to be a ranger, well, that's probably not an option, right? And it's not like the Marine Corps are batting down the doors to try to get 45-year-old investment bankers to join the Marines. So I figured, what can I possibly do? And so I went to my wife and we started ACP.
And were you still investment banking at the time?
So I spent a year working, frankly, I worked on a political campaign. Mm-hmm. Without getting into politics, I spent a lot of time in the John McCain campaign. But while I was doing that, I was also working part-time as a banker, about half and half for the campaign and half as a banker. But I knew I wanted to do something different. And it took me probably a year to figure out and to build the whole platform, which became ACP, which, once you have an idea, to turn that small business idea into something that was going to hopefully be sustainable, that took quite a while to develop.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of time, effort, and resources. And so I think I want to so what is ACP then?
Well, we started off as a small organization helping people not just think about getting a job, but building a career, mm-hmm. right? So a lot of times, and your audience knows this so much better than I, because I never separated out of Fort Drum or Fort Dix or some other place like that. But, people would tell me you separate off the installation and you're instantly unemployed. Mm-hmm. And so what typically would happen is that, not everybody's terribly thoughtful about what the next career is going to be. When you're in the hills of Afghanistan, you probably think about more to how to be safe, keep my buddies safe, do the mission, love to see my wife again, hopefully. You're not really thinking about, okay, do I want to work for UPS or Visa? Right. It's not a discussion that comes up. So what ACP is all about is it's a one-on-one program. So everybody who applies is a vet. It's open to anybody for free. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is have served on active duty since 9/11. Okay, so you apply online. We will pair you up with a corporate executive, mid-level, senior-level person. Sometimes they're in manufacturing and logistics. It's not all like guys wearing suits. We'll pair you up with a mentor. And then there are really 3 parts to the program. It's a year-long program. It's roughly an hour a month. For those of you watching now, you should know that 85% of our program is virtual. Mm-hmm. So you might have a woman in Tampa being mentored by a woman at Coca-Cola in Atlanta. You might have a Lockheed Martin representative mentoring somebody in Rochester, right? So it's virtual. We always have been. So when COVID hit, which we'll talk about in a moment, when COVID hit, we've been prepared for this by accident from day one. But basically, the three parts of the program, the first one that we take a lot of pride in, and I think we're the only one in the country that does this. Most people come to us, they don't know what they want to do. Mm-hmm. It's not like, hey, I really want a job at McKinsey, or I really want a job at Whirlpool. They just don't even think about different types of jobs. So anyway, the first thing that we really try to work on with people is try to figure out, okay, what is it that you want to do? And if you don't know, let's help you figure it out. Like, do you want to be outdoors? Do you want to sit at a desk? Is money the most important thing? Are you willing to relocate? What skills do you have? Mm-hmm. You know, now a lot of guys, you know, if you have cyber training, that's one thing. But, you know, if you were in the infantry and you're a captain, going from being a captain in Iraq towards, you know, year 5, you're out of college, 5 years in the Army, you're now trying to think about, okay, I don't know what I want to do. You know, do I want to wear a suit? Do I want to work in IT? Do I want to work helping people? Do I want to work for a consumer products company where everybody knows, you know, the type of things I'm working on? So we help people figure out what they do. We introduce them. The ACP network is vast, and this is something that I don't think most people appreciate. We have 19,000 vets who finished our program. And we have roughly a similar number of mentors, either currently or formerly in our program. So the network is vast. You want to talk to somebody at Ford, well, they may not even be part of our program, but there's undoubtedly a former protege of ours at Ford. Okay, so the network that ACP has is enormous. We have an online site separate from the program called ACP AdvisorNet. We really recommend people go on both, because the concept of ACP AdvisorNet is you got 10,000 people. You can sort by geography, by company, by experience, by industry. So we help you figure out what you want to do. We introduce you a ton of people for your network. We help to the extent it's useful with resume preparation, not only interviewing, but interview feedback. Right? What makes a successful interview, and what makes an interview where you never get that second interview, which we probably have all experienced, including me. And then we really help you think about how to get that job. And so there you put it up on the screen. So in addition to our main mentoring program, which is free, this site is free as well. This is open anyway. And by the way, this is open to a spouse as well, or a family member of a vet. It's an unbelievable resource that, frankly, because we're not LinkedIn and we don't have a budget, we're not part of a big company, we don't have a marketing aspect to explain this to people, but it's an enormous, you know, if you're going home to Omaha and you want to find a job in Omaha, we got people in Omaha, or people in small towns in Missouri, people in Arkansas, thousands and thousands of people in New York City, if that's where you want to relocate. So you could be in at Fort Bliss right now and say, I'm going home to Colorado Springs, and I really love to get to know people in Colorado Springs to help me figure out what opportunities might be there. You could do this from your laptop at Fort Bliss.
No, and what I really love about ACP is, you know, when I was transitioning about a year out from getting out of the Army, I went to a job fair, I was lost, and then I found LinkedIn, and I had to start from scratch on LinkedIn, and I had to just ask a ton of people until I finally found mentors. And I didn't know about ACP right off the bat. And so the first 3 months, I probably spent hundreds of hours trying to find mentors. And then, you know, I got a mentor from ACP, and you matched me up with Mary she did HR at Novartis, change management at Cisco, and never served. And suddenly I had somebody that had a different perspective, a different network that I could actually call on myself. She gave me her cell phone number. And so when I had questions, I can call on her cell phone, or she would send me things to think about, or we'd talk. And it was such an incredible program. And then I didn't even know about ACP at AdvisorNet. And once I found out about AdvisorNet, I realized, you know, guys like Matt Widmer taking, you know, senior partners at Deloitte taking, you know, informational interview requests from AdvisorNet. So, I mean, I think you really just created something that is a launch pad for people's careers wherever they are, and wherever they're at right now and where they want to go. And I really appreciate that, Sid.
Well, Well, first of all, thank you for those kind words. One of the questions that some in the audience might be thinking is why, what's in it for the mentors? So they trying to sell me something? What's in it for ACP? And, there's a point I'd just like to emphasize. Right now in the program, we have 40, I said, we've had 19,000 people complete the program. We have 4,200 in the program now. It's open to, again, anyone active duty since 9/11. And we started a program a few years ago for active duty military spouses who, as you guys know better than I, are constantly moving and taking care of a family. And while most of them are women, they're not all women. And it's a real challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But only about a third of our mentors have actually served in the military themselves. 2/3 are people like me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're people that are Americans that just want to say thank you. They don't want to just write a check to some veterans organization, $19 a month, you get a blanket, right? And you feel good by writing a check. Yeah, people can write a check to ACP too. That's not what we're all about. Most of our funding comes from the companies.
Mm-hmm.
But there's an enormous sea of good-hearted, well-meaning, red and blue patriots out there, people who just want to say thank you, and they don't know how to do it. They don't want to necessarily put a care package together and send it to some installation somewhere. And so what we're tapping into are thousands and thousands and thousands of Americans who are skilled and are offering some of their time and judgment and contacts.
Didn't you tell me there was you guys did an interview or a joint commercial with like two corporate enemies? Wasn't it like Pepsi and Coke or something like that?
So way before we got into yes, the environment was polarizing 6 years ago. It's, not as bad as probably it is today. But yes, in order to build a marketing campaign around the ACP AdvisoryNet platform, we were able to get the chairman of Coke and the chairman of Pepsi, the first time ever, to jointly do a public service announcement for us. That was, it only took me a year going back and forth on script approvals and lighting and how come, this person looks bigger or more well lit than that person, but we actually ended up getting it done. We actually got Carl Rove and David Axelrod to do something similar. And to the audience, if you're interested in it, it's all on our website under PSA campaign.
I think it cements what you said about, cross-cutting society and just bringing people that want to support veterans and military spouses together. And that's what I've seen about it. So I think a lot of people don't quite know, at least a lot of recent veterans and service members and military spouses don't quite know what is the value of a mentor. So like when you get a mentor, what kind of results have you seen that bring to the company, to the individuals? Do they last in jobs longer? Are they getting jobs? What are you seeing the impact across the board from this movement that you created?
The impact can be very, very significant. It depends on the person and what they want to achieve, right? So we have a person who is a protege in our program. If you're in the New York area, you might have seen her on TV because she ran for Congress.
Mm.
And one of the things that we did for her, and I know this woman pretty well because her mentor was my wife, and this is going back years ago. So it's a lady, she was an MP, she's out in Long Island,
mm-hmm.
and what her mentor helped her with is gaining a personal presence and developing a confidence to say, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I don't have skills because I was an MP. It's what did I learn that I feel proud of, including leadership and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And with that confidence came public speaking, and there was a lot of back and forth with my wife. One of the things we do that not everybody's up for, we really, really recommend that you do a mock interview, like you might be interviewing me. We do a short interview, no more than 10 minutes, and then we tape it. I don't know if you can do this on the system we're using now, but on Zoom you can. You tape it and then you watch it together, and you'd be surprised how awkward people feel watching themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But then they realize, maybe I should have smiled a little bit more. Maybe I should have looked the person in the eye more. Maybe I should have been better prepared. Like, why do I want to work at PepsiCo? As opposed to, hey, I like your chips, right? What is it that sells during an interview and what's going to turn somebody off? Showing up on time, knowing something about the company. We had a guy who was interviewing actually at Pepsi, and the mentor said, why don't you let's go together and look at the company's annual report. And the guy goes, well, what's an annual report?
Yeah.
And the mentor said, well, you're interviewing at Pepsi. If you want to understand the company, I'd recommend we together read the chairman's letter, the first page of the annual report. And then, if we can, you're going to figure out a way to raise that during the interview. It's going to show the interviewer that you actually were prepared. You know something about the company, like you know who the chairman is, right? You know if they had a good year or not so good year, maybe what their objectives are. So if you're interviewing a Pepsi and you want to talk about, hey, I want to be with a company that's working on foods that are going to be better for you and still taste great, or that cares a lot about its environment and is buying electric trucks so that the bottlers are not filling up vending machines using diesel-powered engines. That's going to be pretty impressive to an interviewer. So these little subtle things are things you can read in a book.
Yeah.
And it separates you as an interviewee candidate, from the 30 other people who are interviewing. Before that, we might position you how to write a cover note to actually get the darn interview. Most people don't appreciate that. I bet in your audience there'll be a whole bunch of people nodding. How many people have gone to a job fair, submitted a resume, or gone online and submitted a resume, and they never hear back? Probably everybody, right? Happened to me. It's happened to everybody, right? So what most people don't appreciate is that the purpose of the resume is to get you the interview. And a resume without a cover letter doesn't really do much. So how do you maximize your chance? You can't get the job without the interviews. How do you maximize your chance of getting the interview? Well, you have to be something compelling. Why is it worth this person's time to spend 20 minutes with you? So anyway, I can go on, but the retention rate is materially higher in our program for people who get jobs. The average retention is maybe 1 out of 2 people are with the same company a year later. Our retention rate is 86%.
Yeah.
Our starting salary, we estimate, and we have a broad group of people. 3/4 are enlisted. There's quite an education dispersion. Plenty of people without a 4-year degree. Plenty of people with masters. Our average starting salary, the last time we estimated this, is over $82,000 a year. Now, that can't be for everybody, but we have a lot of people getting very, very strong jobs right now. And the nice thing, the one last thing I'll just finish up with at this point, we know who's hiring. And if you go to our website, there's over 100 big companies that we're working with. We're talking to them every day. So we're with a big pharmaceutical company yesterday. They want to hire, but not only do they want to hire, but we know where they want to hire and in what positions and who at the company is the contact person. So it's a lot different than, no disrespect to LinkedIn, but if you just go on LinkedIn and you send a LinkedIn message to somebody, the likelihood of getting a response is not the same as when you're in our program.
No, and I would agree. I absolutely think it's essential for every service member, veteran, and military spouse to take advantage of what you guys offer. I think that having my mentor truly helped me figure out what I wanted to do, so that I was able to make it past a year in that first job. Had I just taken the first job that came my way, I probably would have been moving on within about 6 months. As you said, I think only 48% of service members stay longer than a year in their first post-military job. You guys are up over 85% or 80% at least.
So there's one additional thing, Mike, I'd just like to add, and I don't know if Katie, I won't mention the last name, but there's a lady in our program who really took advantage of another aspect I'd just like to highlight. Quite a number of people are coming to us say, listen, I like the company I work for, but I want some help in getting promoted. I want somebody who's going to help me think about my career long term, right? What should I be doing to get on that track so when they're going to promote 1 out of 4 or 5 people? So this woman came to us and she said, I'm working at a financial services firm. Everybody I work with is a guy. I'm a former Air Force captain, and I'm not used to negotiating on my own. And I don't want to be viewed by these guys as that's the pushy woman, right? On the other hand, if I don't figure out a way to advocate for myself, all these other guys seem to figure it out, and it could be on a golf course, right? How do I build my own career in a thoughtful long-term manner? And so we found her a mentor who had been successful in financial services, who was also a woman who had gone through all this, who could say, I might have done things differently, or this is what you might want to try to do. And so a lot of people, quite a number, actually have decent jobs, but they want to try to figure out, okay, how do I tell my boss that I want to have a family? Right? Or how do I deal with a difficult guy if it's a woman? Or a guy who got passed over for a job and wants to try to figure out, okay, what do I do about this? Should I stay at the company? Should I think about doing something different? How do I position myself? So I just want to explain, this is not just if you're looking for a job or you're transitioning. This program has helped all different people. We have people who wanted our help in starting or building a small business.
Yep.
But they're missing something, like they don't have an accounting background, or they don't know how to raise money for their business, or they need help developing their social media plan. So, it's not a free service where we just have a series of consultants, but we help people with a wide variety of objectives.
Yeah, actually, one of the first mentors that were proposed to connect to me was somebody that owns a company that consults with small businesses to help them launch. And, I wanted to get a job first, so I took Mary instead. But you're right, that would have been incredibly beneficial to have somebody like that as a mentor, to even just go through the thought process of, do I really want to start a business? And what I particularly like about ACP as well is, you've got other mentor platforms out there that basically connect people for a phone call. But when you are connected with someone over the course of a year and you have repeated engagements, they become a mentor in the truest sense of the word. And that could be for career progression. That could be for support. When I had multiple job offers to consider and I didn't know which one to choose, I called my mentors, to get their advice. And I think that's incredible. And then the last part I'd say that I've seen is that mentors have established networks already. And so my buddy Jose had a mentor from MLB, Major League Baseball, and she connected him to other people. So that in itself is invaluable to have that personal introduction. So Sid, I'm just, a huge fan of everything you guys do. I know we've got a few members of your team that have been on the thread that are sharing information, and I know you've got a 12:30. So I guess I just wanted to turn it over to you for, and maybe we could do this again to actually get into the day at work part of it. Any specific advice to a service member, veteran? Like, what would be the number one tip you'd give to them to make a mentorship work?
Take ownership of the mentorship yourself. Right. So when I'm working with people, my own style, and I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mentors, they want to help, but they don't want to be pushy. They want to offer advice only when it's asked. So in your own case, or the people on the line who've seen this work for them, it's almost always where the protege takes control in the sense of, hey, so-and-so, would you have time next week? I'd really like to ask for your help. I'm not getting the interviews that I was hoping to get. But don't wait for the mentor to just reach out, hey, how's it going? Because the mentors have their own jobs. They want to be helpful, but most of them would rather be asked. So, it takes work. So if you want to find a job, you almost have to take a work at it approach. You have to get up in the morning. You got to put on the right clothes. You got to sit at a desk with a cup of coffee. And you got to take it seriously. And if you don't take it seriously, you kind of get what you put into it, right? So the most successful people are the people, now don't bug the mentor, it's roughly an hour a month. It's not an hour a day, right? But we have people who want to help, but you have to really take it seriously if you're looking for something. If you want to help, we had one, I'll just leave it quickly. We had a guy named Steve's working at a company, wants to get a new job within the same company, but move laterally. So he needed a mentor to help him think about, how do I move from one part to another without pissing off the people in the old part, right? So everybody likes me, it's a win-win, but I don't want to make it look like I don't want to work with those people, right? So sometimes people know their objectives, sometimes they don't. but the successes almost always require the protege, the veteran, to take it seriously and say, I'm committed to doing this.
I think that's very practical advice, Sid. I would be hard pressed to think that Rupert Murdoch is going to be calling and following up to get a mentee on a phone call regularly. And I've connected with Matt Widmer, and he's become a mentor for me. Even though I was at EY and he was Deloitte, he was still a mentor for me, which is incredibly valuable in the Big Four. And I've connected him with other people. And he's told me some follow up and they get their calls, and some just kind of wait for him to do stuff, in which case, he's incredibly busy and they're just not going to get their needs. So I think that's incredibly powerful advice. Sid, I know you got a 12:30. Thank you so much. I'd love to get you on again and maybe share some more information on ACP and what your day is like as a founder, if you're okay with that.
I am, Mike. It's been great getting to know you, getting to know so many people that you know. We're here to help. For those of you who have friends, we always have openings for applications. So if you have people who are interested in applying, it's just Google American Corporate Partners. Don't Google ACP. It'll show up like the American College of Physicians or something. But just American or Veteran Program, Mentoring Program, whatever. You'll figure it out. But
we'll put the link in the comments as well, Sid.
Okay. All right. Thanks to everybody. Thanks, Mike, for organizing.
Bye.
Okay.